Welcome to this video about searching for and finding information in sources. In this video, we'll answer two questions. First, how do you decide what information you need to complete a task? Second, how can you distinguish between primary and secondary sources of information? First of all, how do you decide what information you need to complete a task? In other words, where do you begin? Begin by identifying the purpose and audience for your task. The purpose is the reason you are doing the task. Review the assignment instructions. Think about PIE. Is your purpose to persuade, inform, or entertain your audience? For example, let's imagine your professor has asked you to write an online discussion post about the following prompt. Analyze the consumer buying patterns for a specific type of product. Identify the environmental and competitive factors affecting the product. Is your purpose to persuade, inform, or entertain? That's right. The verbs analyze and identify show that your purpose is to inform your audience about factors affecting consumer buying patterns. Your audience is the people who will read, watch, or listen to your work. Ask yourself the following questions. Who are the people reading, watching, or listening? For the example task, the audience is your professor and classmates. What do they already know about the topic? They may already be familiar with the product. And what information do they need from you? They need you to identify the environmental and competitive factors that affect the consumer buying patterns for the product. Now that you have determined the information needed for your task, you're ready to search for sources. That leads to our second question. How can you distinguish between primary and secondary sources of information? Primary sources present first-hand information gathered through direct contact with the event or topic you are studying. They may be artifacts, accounts, or direct observations of events or research studies. Some examples of primary sources include autobiographies, speeches, interviews, journal articles reporting first-hand observations of research, and photos, videos, or newspaper accounts of events. Secondary sources are second-hand information, usually interpretations and analyses of primary sources. In other words, they present information from people who were not present or involved in the original event or study. Some examples of secondary sources include textbooks, encyclopedias, biographies, books, newspaper editorials, and journal articles that are second-hand analyses of primary sources and events. Both primary and secondary sources can provide useful information for tasks. However, the first-hand information in primary sources is more credible and authoritative. For example, in the task to identify the environmental and competitive factors that affect the consumer buying patterns for a product, a primary source could be a market research study consisting of interviews with consumers about their buying patterns. The authors present first-hand information gathered from the consumers themselves. By contrast, a secondary source could be a newspaper editorial analyzing the results of market research studies. The authors present second-hand information gathered from the primary sources. Both types of sources can help you find the information needed to complete your task. To sum up, in this video, we have discussed how to decide what information you need to complete a task and how to distinguish primary from secondary sources. Thank you for watching.